Now we'll have Melly Beechwood presenting Exploring Knowledge Graphs for the Preservation of Orcas in the Pacific Northwest.
Thank you. Well, thank you everybody. I know this is the last talk of the day, so I appreciate you all being here. And just take a moment to shake yourself a little bit. This is a beginner talk, and so it's okay if you have no idea what knowledge graphs are. I'm not going to be going into the actual implementations, although if you want to go with that later with me, I'm happy to do so. So just to get it out in the open, I am a master's student with Northeastern University. I'm also a machine learning engineer at Axon. All of this work is with my time at Northeastern and is separate from my work with Axon. Alright, so I am realizing that I cannot see the slides on the thing. So you're going to see me look over here for a second. So some of the things I really want to get out of this talk for you all is, why on earth are orcas important? Why is this something that we'd be hearing about today? As data scientists, how can we use our tech for good? And it doesn't have to just be orcas. Whatever it is that you're passionate about, you want to move the needle forward, how can you? And what knowledge graphs are, and then what it takes to build one. So, why are orcas important? How many of you are not from the Puget Sound area? Alright, for you handful, you may not know, but an orca is a killer whale. It is a symbol of Seattle, both right now and as well through historically with the indigenous people in the area. They are our apex predator of the ocean, and our local ones, our residents, are critically endangered. And they are fish eaters. They are not mammal eating. So they are really important as far as our ecological mix here, being our apex predator. They are also a sign about how our ecosystem is doing. And right now, it's doing pretty badly. They are only, I think it's 74 right now, give or take, because there's been a couple missing. In the wild, it has been decreasing year over year for quite a while. And they are one of the most endangered.
Only 74?
Only 74.
Oh, wow.
So it's made up of 3 pods in the area, which is 3 different family groups. One is very, very small. And unfortunately, there's been a series of incidents. All the first orcas that went to places like SeaWorld and things like that were from our pods here. And it went from them being a very large group between the captivity as well as active hunting for the dislike that their main source of food is our salmon, which we all love here. So they are competitors with us. And they were considered a nuisance for hundreds of years of colonial settlements, but not previously.
So when you say 74 orcas from here, you mean Seattle area? Or like?
So in the Puget Sound, there's a handful of different types of orcas. There is the resident, the transient, and the Briggs. This talk's all going to be about the southern resident. They are, they're the ones, there's only 74 in the wild lot.
And they don't migrate, are you saying residents so they don't migrate?
Nope, they stay here in the Puget Sound all year long.
Okay.
And there's actually a picture. So this is their range. They are primarily in the Puget Sound. They go all the way up to British Columbia. Their main threats are the decline in the salmon populations and a lot of pollution. So both of the chemical pollution that comes off, especially in Seattle, and Vancouver, the runoff on our streets is one of their worst situations. And they have been tested for harmful chemicals higher than any other mammal in the entire world. So, and that's when they're born. So they're not having a good time from us right now. One of their other major components is noise pollution. These are animals who hunt by echolocation. That's also how they communicate with each other. Their entire way of being is focused entirely on sound. And yet, we have very, very noisy machines. And we don't think about the sound that resonates underwater at a much larger distance than it does for us here on land. It disrupts their hunting, it disrupts their ability to find each other, and importantly, it disrupts even a mother's ability to care for her calf. And so this is a serious issue that a lot of policy has been looking into to try to figure out where we put our ship lanes, how and when. So, real quick, I want to acknowledge the indigenous people in the area. Many tribes have the orcas as their cultural icon, and the illumination in particular has been one of the forefront fighters in the safety protection of the orcas. They have fought time and time again, both in the Puget Sound and for those who were away and still in captivity to return home. And that's actually what this lovely totem pole that they created was designed to do. Fortunately, that orca hasn't returned yet, but there's still hope there. All right, so what's a knowledge graph? So I guess first, show of hands, who's heard of a knowledge graph? This is so great being here. Normally when I ask that question, everybody's like, what? What's that? All right, so for the few of you who don't understand, a knowledge graph is any sort of situation where you're grouping in large amounts of data, both of the data, structured data that you may have, it could also be unstructured data, and you're adding additional contextual information. So what that means is in the situation of Amazon, they're going to be having your structured data of what you have purchased. They're going to have data around what someone near you has purchased, like in a similar locale, and connect you by that locale. But then they're also going to be having contextual information such as weather. I imagine people are more likely to buy an umbrella when it's raining than when it's not, although I have no idea because I don't work at everything. But things like that are where you can use it. You use knowledge graphs every day. Google, Amazon, Netflix, even how they design the subways in London City are now using knowledge graphs to help deal. And it follows right from that talk we just had, that knowledge graphs are one of the ways to look at a complex system and see the systems instead of isolated by how they work together and find out what happens. So for my research, I was pulling in a bunch of data from a bunch of different places because these are a loved animal and a critically endangered. They have a lot of people rooting for them. So they have 2 countries, 3 government agencies, at least 12 private labs, several public labs, at least 5 nonprofits, 3 or 4 tribes that are very, very proactive and active online, a massive Twitter following, and so many citizen scientists. This data is everywhere. Some of it I can access, some of it is locked behind different rights and things like that. All these places are doing different things, but they're all about the same creatures. And yet none of them interact with each other. Not on purpose, just because how can they? Some are studying the salmon, some are studying noise, some are studying other things. You've got government policies who care and want these orcas to succeed, but don't know how. How can you help them do something actionable, like know where to put a shipping lane, if you don't know where they're at any given point? So my thought was, let's bring it all together. Let's see what patterns we can bring. Now, that's such a simple sentence and such a horrible thing to execute because that's a lot of structured data in different types. There's just so much. So I'm bringing in the research from the actual PDFs. I'm bringing in stuff from citizen scientists, particularly whale sightings is what the main one is, showing where they've been. And then environmental issue information such as ships. It's a voluntary thing that they're not required to do, but many of them have tracking devices and publicly announce where they are at any given time. There's also weather stations. Do they change their position and their fishing habits given the season or how the weather's like, or the tides? And then we know with fishing data from fishing ships, where was there a good catch today? We can bring in interesting information from each of these. So this is as deep as the slide's going to get, so don't fret if this is overwhelming, but as an idea for you, for those of you who are interested, this is a portion of the schema. I'm using Neo4j, which is a graph database. You do not have to do that to do a knowledge graph. It just makes it easier for storing it in the same way you're going to do the analyzing. Really to sum this up, in the blue at the top, right, you've got orcas. They are members of pods, and things happen to them, such as life events, death events, births, and people see them. They do interesting activities. They eat. They do some funny behaviors, peeking their heads out of the water. These all have names, and they're all in the reports. So they need to be shown. And all of these are seen when they're sighted, which we've got a lot of ways to find the sightings, but our primary ones are reports, given to us by different people in different organizations in different manners. So how we get to this, though, is through a bunch of data processing. So there's a lot of manual data sets. That's primarily PhD research papers and different government entities who have data sets, typically in Excel, that are small and on their own don't do a ton. These are very unique and hard to make something that scrapes them. So this is where I manually go in and put them. And then it's very time consuming, but it is very interesting. And then you've got the other part, which is vast. When, I don't have the number right off the top of my head anymore, but there is a lot of sightings of these per year, just through the Orca network alone. Not to mention if you were to actually scrape Twitter. So that's not something I can do. I actually looked when I first started this, and I was like, I don't want to do NLP right off the bat. And I calculated it would take me 36 years with the current, not including what they would add. So that's not going to work. So natural language is critical. It's critical in many points here, mainly to interpret that language, to bring it out into entities, to understand that schema, understand what in that wordage is an orca, what's an activity, what's a person, and it's really great for large data sets. It's definitely going to go a lot faster than I can. So these are some of the examples of some of the unstructured data we'll get. Sometimes you get one from a scientist and you can always tell because it's very neat and it has very described keywords. And then we get fun things like, they are out trending north. Who the they are? No idea. The next one's actually a little better. 2 grays passing close to this location. And apparently they're enjoying shrimp. And although that's kind of fun to know and maybe it's good, it's also not helpful terribly. I don't know where I'd put that in. And then I get these ones a lot. Someone invited them for a slice of pizza before they made the trip home. They made some forever friends. And I'm really, really, really glad for them. That sounds like a great day. And it's awful for me. So as we're doing it, there's a lot of ways on the market. You don't have to be an NLP engineer to be able to do this kind of scraping. There's wonderful web scrapers out there that will help. And there is a lot of NLP processing and entity extraction models already on the market. So I was like, that's great. I will speed my life up. And so I tested out Google and Amazon. Unshockingly, maybe. Google's really good at locations. Amazon, very good at money. Very good at money. Very good at also interpreting scientific data as money all the time. Both good at their own things, both terrible at orcas. None of them can do anything with it. The names, oh man, it's bad. They have no idea what you're talking about. You're like, a fin? What kind of fin? Mm-hmm. So this is going to have to be specialized. And instead of building it up from scratch, the best way to do that is to take an existing model and fine-tune it to your needs. This can be done with a variety of products, and I haven't quite decided where it's going yet. But where we can feed it in data around the orcas, their names, IDs, the type of actions, and social structures they do like pod, which are very unique to this subset, and help that machine learning language understand that what I'm talking about really isn't nonsense. It just hasn't learned it yet. So some of the limitations of building a complex structure like this is that data collection is really hard to do. You're working with a lot of different environments, some of which are private, and there is concern around what they're going to publish or IP, and so they may not be able or unwilling to give you access to their data. There's others that are public, and it's easily accessible, but it's hard to ingest, or you have to get special grants, or different things like that. And then for things like Twitter, there's just a large amount. So you have to have a lot of environment and a lot of time to bring it all together. There's a lot of collaboration involved. In theory, I want this tool to be there for researchers and policy to be able to easily bring things, but that means that there's a lot of stakeholders involved. And right now, it's very slow moving because it's just me. If anybody wants to help, let me know. But it has some massive benefits. For the example I said before, with this, from what I'm seeing right now, we should be able to compare by season where the orcas are at any given time, given the sightings, make a prediction for the next year, and potentially have a firm idea to give policymakers where they can go to put their shipping lanes at what time of the year, that decrease the amount of influence that these orcas are having, and keep them from having situations like what happened 2 years ago when a mother got separated from her orca for 3 days. And this isn't just for this. This research database will help these conversations go further, and because everyone will be able to see where their sighting went and how it helped, I'm hoping it connects us all a little better. So for some future work, fun things I've got coming up is I do have a grant to have satellite images of the Puget Sound, and hoping to be able to also be able to hopefully see them, but we'll find out. I'm going to be implementing bringing in weather stations from different locations, and then bringing in all that, shipping information, scraping Twitter, and then my goal someday is that this shouldn't be a one-time thing. If this can be done for orcas, what else can it be done for? What other animals are endangered or underserved? And not just animals, but any service you care about, they could benefit for a system like this. And anyone can build this. You don't have to be a researcher who's specialized. You can help those who already are. So collaborations-wise, talked about the research labs. There's wonderful nonprofits like the Orca, and you all can help. Please download the Whale Alert app. Every time you see a whale, you can implement it, and it brings up a nice structured data set, so I don't have to do anything crazy, and it's amazing. So that is the main things. If you'd like to learn more, the NOAA has wonderful information. That link will take you to so much. If you want to go deep, I highly suggest look up Be Whale-Wise. It tells you how to safely interact with the orcas in the area. And please, if you're ever interested in both seeing where the orcas are right now and contributing, the Orca Network is a great way to do it. And that is it. Do you have any questions for me?
Does this one work?
Yep.
Who can go first?
Thank you. This is really interesting. So you mentioned that the scrapers that you tried by Google and Amazon did not work well. Did you find some that did? Not the scrapers, the NLP entity extraction.
None of the already built models did well, which really wasn't shocking. It was a long shot, given the specialized nature. If it was on other data sets such as forestry or things like that, you have a better chance of working right off the bat. With this, I think fine-tuning is going to be needed either way. What model I choose to do with it, I'll probably play with it a little bit more. That's on my next to-do list. There's some lovely open source ones too that aren't too bad to do fine-tuning in, and I'll probably go that way because I don't have to pay for it though. And financially restricted on this, given it's just me. But
All right, thanks so much.
Hi, Ruzira from Northstorm. So you mentioned that you get the data from multiple sources, and I guess that it might be like somehow noisy. Maybe someone like saw a big fish and mistaken that like a baby orca. So my question for you is, how do you deal or handle those types of situations that have so many noise in the data and come up with an effective graph that represent the real event happening?
absolutely. So I'm going to be facing this more and more. I'm still in the bringing it in from all the entity buy. I'm expecting this is going to take up a good chunk of my time. The benefit of having this much data is that you get some of the things that I'm going to be using techniques from anomaly detection of if there's more than one site. Typically when you see on their site, if there's one sighting, there's usually like a little cluster of sightings of the same orcas. So it kind of ends up being a place where you can verify against other information. If it's been cited by multiple people in the same place, it probably is an orca and not a fish. How other ways of handling it are still going to be, they're going to be my next problem, so I guess I'll have to keep you updated.
Please do. Thank you very much.
Caroline, I'm from King County actually. I'm not familiar with knowledge graphs, so I have a really basic question, which is the project as a whole is super fascinating, really fun to hear about. But what exactly is the knowledge graph getting you, rather than just processing a lot of different data sets and bringing them together into a sort of standard tabular giant?
Absolutely. So this is my favorite part, and the part I can't wait to get to. Right now I'm building it, which is all parts of bringing in all this data in. But once it's in, there's going to be able to do some really amazing cluster analytics on it. And these are things you can't do when they're all separate. You can look at different complexity analysis, and cluster is the one that I'm going to be doing a lot of figuring out where they're all given. So one of the questions I'll be able to search for is things like, where is pod T when it's raining and this happens? And it will be able to quickly do that because they're all connected through this graph together.
Thank you.
I don't know who was Hi, that was really cool. What's the balance between like needing the data from folks going out like watching whales and using the data for policies that might restrict that behavior?
I like it. That is a good balance. And it's one where I was finding that I was finding more value than in looking through the sightings, these public sightings, than I was through the research papers. Because the research papers are typically a very small snapshot in time, usually for about 3 months seems to be the average. Because a lot of those researchers have to go out into boats and go manually track them, and it's expensive and hard to do. So this was more reliable, getting it across seasons and across weather and different things like that, which allows it to be correlated with that public shipping data much easier. So right now the balance was leaning more towards going down this public route because it gets me what looks like the most important but easiest to get change, which is that shipping lane. But that only happened because I talked to a bunch of researchers to ask them what on earth is the thing that they think would make the most impact the quickest.
I think we have time for one last question.
My question's about the whales.
Awesome.
So the underlying assumption here is that there's going to be repeatable behavior based on conditions from the orcas, and that we can then structure shipping and logistics chains to avoid disruption to them or measure the level of disruption they're causing. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Have you seen anything at this point in what you're doing that emerge as a trend that would be that you're
Sure.
really excited about, or you want to start working toward fixing? Or
So what started all this was that there is a scientific study that showed there was some trends. They were noticing that they kind of come back to certain places, and you can actually see it live for yourself. There's a webcam that stays up all day long, and you can see and it will name which pod it is visiting, which orcas are very easily identifiable based off of their top fin. So as long as you get a picture of their top fin, there's some wonderful researchers who have made us a map for that. So you can actually go see, it's the camera that's in the small bathing area, and there's all these little river stones. And all 3 pods love to come and get a little spa day, and they rub their back against it, and teach the babies how to do it. And it's really cute when you can catch one of those, because the babes look and are like, what on earth is going on? Why are you doing this? Until they try it, and they get this look of just like, oh my god. It's the cutest thing. But they definitely come to that at different times per pod. They don't come at the same time with each other almost ever, and they tend to have favorite things. Some of it is just a hope right now. I'm pretty sure from what others have seen that this is going to be there, but they do travel around a lot every day. They can accomplish the entire Puget Sound, which any of you, if you end up going on a whale tour, will notice because they will drag you all over the Puget Sound to find them. So because of that, there might not be, and that is a risk too, but that does tell us something in and of itself of, okay, well, what do you do then? What do you do if your shipping lane is cutting off half of their environment and they need to go there every single day? And I don't know what the solution would be for that, but at least it would give us the knowledge that that's the new problem we gotta solve.